Rahubat Moisar, Rahubat. Thank you. Tawakum. Lahe, joining us today for our Outformation class with myself. I'm known by Ranani Kawun Usir Ka'a Reye. That's my Sabian name which I've chosen, and my tribal name is Kwabina. Okay, Kwabina or Usir Ka'a Reye. That's what I go by in my tones. Okay, as I said, I'm a student teacher of the master teacher, Partner Bab Yanun, and he's graciously been informing us and giving us Outformation for the past 40, going on 50 years on all different subjects, knowledge, Outformation. Always has made same motto over and over: don't believe me, check it out. Check it out to the point where you can't go any further, because you're going to get to a point where you're going to either trust the being that you're with, the being that's giving you this information, the being that's raising you in degrees, allowing your spirit to grow, your Outformation to be, your light to be inflamed, or you can reject it. It's entirely up to you. Okay, but know that there's a reason why it's been given us in degrees. Know why he's been sent to us. You have to understand these realities. Why is this person, this being, being sent? Why is he teaching us in these degrees of schools, etc.? Why does it sometimes seem like he's always repeating himself? It's for a reason. Okay, repetition is good for memory. Also, we as a people now, because we're so mixed in with other races and other species of people, have something called amnesia. And we have, because of this spell that's still indoctrinated in us by way of the religions and the lifestyle of the Adamic race, okay, we tend to fall back asleep. That's the reason why, for the repetition. That's the reason why he says keep studying, reading, study, read, because in you studying and in you reading, you're constantly reactivating the genetics, the DNA. Okay, because your DNA is it's encoded with messages. But if you don't keep studying and reading, what's going to happen is you're going to start falling back asleep. That light that's been inflamed is going to get dimmer and dimmer if you partake and subsist in the world, okay, of the Adamite race, or the world of the extraterrestrials who are in skin suits. Okay, these extraterrestrials are real. They're walking amongst us in skin suits. They show you movies about them on many different levels, whether it's horror, sci-fi, etc. But they show you who they are and what they're up to. You see what I'm saying? Whether it's either abstracting DNA, mixing in genetically, even movies like Species. We watched the movie Species, where this female extraterrestrial, who's a reptilian, has the ability to shapeshift into a human, and then goes and is mating with males in order to produce a whole brood. Do you see what I'm saying? So beings are here, and they show you in their movies what they've been doing and what they're up to. So I hope me opening up with that kind of like can set the tone. And we're still live on Clubhouse, because this Clubhouse, I dread pressing anything now. Okay, Rahubat to those on Clubhouse. Rahubat, Ma'at, Travis, Khana, Leo, I think that's how it's pronounced, Pata, Mun Reye, Bantuan, okay, and stranger as well who's there. So yeah, any questions? This is a full open question answer forum. Again, we'll touch on topics on a different day, different time when I've prepared properly. So this is your opportunity to ask your questions, okay? There's enough of you in the room. We can spark up a conversation, and we can build on whatever you want to build on and have a more understanding as to what this is about. So feel free to ask your questions. Okay, I yield to the audience now. I think you heard enough of my voice. Any questions? Out. Should I read something again for everybody to maybe spark some questions? Okay, let me ask a question. If I was to ask you, you bought a phone, okay? You've just purchased your first phone or something of material value, okay? May I ask what you do with that phone? What would you do that material value? What would you do with it? Anyone's open for anyone. What would you do with that material value when you bought that? Or okay, hi Jackie, Rahubat Jackie. The floor's open to you, so unmute your mic and speak. Rahubat, how you doing, my sister?
I'm doing fine. I have a question.
Go ahead with your question, and then we can go probably revisit that question and what I posed. But yeah, go ahead with your question, Jackie.
Okay, so we're hearing more and more about the extraterrestrials
Yeah,
showing themselves.
yeah,
And, I looked at the video that Sir Ken did maybe a couple of weeks ago, and it was very interesting. Anyhow, even my spouse, who didn't believe any of this, I heard him speaking about it because all of a sudden he's seeing government official speaking and revealing, lots of information
right.
about, the extraterrestrial, their encounter with them and the meetings with the government officials and so forth.
Okay.
What is the purpose now for them showing themselves?
What's the purpose of them showing themselves?
Yeah, at this time.
Okay.
Or what is the plan? What is the plan for them showing themselves at this time?
Well, as we always do, and what Partner Babianun has done, he's explained that when you look at the word, I tried to explain it to somebody when I was propagating the other day, and he has given us a word because in how what they do with languages, they play with words and phonetics. That's the game, that's the technology of the English language. It's all to do with grammar, phonetics, and things that sound similar. So when you look at the word planet, yeah, planet, you're looking at plan, okay, and ET. Okay, so it's an extraterrestrial plan. He's also shown us in some of the books, okay, the symbol showing you that this is a mazra'ah, which is a farm. Yeah, so Earth is actually a farm to some extraterrestrials. And they have been able to weave themselves into humanity utilizing human beings' DNA. Okay, because as the masters explain, I'm just going to jump into your scriptures for a minute where it talks about extraterrestrials, these Nephilim that fell down. That's where he mentions them in their scriptures. But ultimately, they're just extraterrestrials. So some of these extraterrestrials were cast to this planet, and they have children, okay, physical children that they embody, okay. Now, because it's a plan of extraterrestrials, many extraterrestrials are involved in this, all right. And what they've done is they've made negotiations and agreements with the ruling parties or the ruling bodies that are on the planet that govern this planet, or we've given them that ability to govern this planet because we vote them into power. Okay, this will be known as your Republicans and your Democrats, or your Labour Party and your Conservative Party. All right, but what the masters explained to us is that this extraterrestrial plan is this how they've managed to weave themselves. Okay, I'm reading something. They've managed to weave themselves into these different organizations in order to influence and infiltrate and cause those people who are ruling in those positions to do certain experiments, release certain laws, certain judicial systems, certain technologies that they can use, these extraterrestrials, in order to control the populace, the population of this planet. So this is what's technically happening. You understand, Jackie?
Yes,
Yeah?
and who are these
Yeah.
extraterrestrials that are having this influence upon us?
Right. So what it is, you have different sets or different types of extraterrestrials that came to different rulers on the planet who are now supposedly the Adamite race. Okay. So when we go to a book called from our teachings called actual fact, intelligent design, divine design, or plot of aliens, okay, we go to page 'Where's that map gone? I always lose this map. There's a map, okay, while I'm looking for it. There's a map that shows you the disbursement of the sun's people. Here we go. All right, so here you have a map, okay, if you can see that, of how the different extraterrestrials who intercepted at different points in time and at different cycles. All right, you also refer to the rapture. It also tells you that certain beings came. But what I'll do, I'll read for you from here. So originally, the Egg Island was a place that was inhabited by the Pa-Nataru, okay, the Riskians. And this was known as Egg Island. This was in Antarctica. So that's where the Riskians, they landed, okay? It says here, I'll read it out because obviously it's too small for me to show on the screen. But it says, our landing site where we set up before the Ice Age, Nuwaupu. Then what it does is it then branches off. So if you can see the different branches, okay? Branching off of these different cycles. So it branched off, and then you had the Indian Ocean. It says we placed the human seed here. And then the Okavango Swamp is another branch where some of these evolutionary Tarites, refer to them as evolutionary Tarites. These would have been the pre-Sans people of the Kalahari Desert and the bush people of the Pygmies in parts of Uganda, etc. Okay, and what that happened was they was literally cast out by a massive tsunami that cast them onto land from the Okavango swamp, okay? And also some ended up in the Kalahari deserts, etc., or what is known as the Kalahari Desert now. So the dates, it says here, the dates changed because some migrated, then backtracked or returned as mixed seeds, okay? Then I'm going to jump to, it says, the first people, San people, Nubans, South Africa, Botswana. Okay, then there was again another dispersing or divergence, okay? And here, there was a separation into two people. You had the Niger, the Wasabi, and then you go on and you go to the Dongala, okay? So now when you look at this branch here, I know it's hard for you to show you, but I'm going to try and, if you look at this branch here, okay, the branch goes, it says black race, African, brown races, Indian, Australian, yellow races, Asian, red and white race, Mesopotamia, Europe, okay? And then this is where now you had various extraterrestrials now intercepting. So for the Marlians, you had beings from Sirius star systems that came. Mali obviously is a very generic term for the different tribes, but it's the same race of Africans who migrated from those two diversions, okay, and became Mali, Songhai, do you know what I mean, and many, many different empires that stemmed and branched off from there. But so you had the Senegalese, so, and then from that, the migration into the Americas, and where you get Atlantis and Native Americans. So these are the Syrians came there and they mixed their seed. Then the other side, you go to Kenya, Sudan, Ethiopia, Dongala, okay? You had the Nataru, original Egyptians, who also came in and mixed in, all right? So that's again, beings that came from the Sirius star systems, okay, and also from the Ilion, okay, another star system much, much further than Sirius star system. So these Nataru, original Egyptians, okay, then also came and migrated and mixed in with the Malians and the Syrians. So there's a lot of migration and mixing that was taking place. So I'm going to now jump to Mesoamerica and Mesopotamia. Now, the American Indians and the Asians and the Scottish, So and the Southern Europeans, I beg your pardon, had the visitation of the Anunnaki, okay? And also the Southern Europeans had the visitation of the Draconians and the Arconians. So these were extraterrestrials who were of lizard or reptilian heritage or genetic lineage. They would look human, but they had their genetics that links them back to reptiles. You with me? Advanced reptiles. Very intelligent, highly advanced, intelligent beings who had the ability to shape shift, etc. Okay? Then from there, you had the birth of the Southern European, you had the Celtics, who branched off and became your Swedes, your Swedish people, your Russians, and these were visited again by extraterrestrials known as the Pleiadians. All right? Then you had the Celtics with you have three tribes of Celtics. You have the Celtic with a K, the Celtic with a C, and the Celtic with a S. Okay, these were all different tribes of the 6 Caucasian race, okay, the 6 species of Caucasians. Now, they were visited by the beings from Aldebaran, okay, and that gave birth to your Germanic people. And from that seed birthed your Irish, your Scottish, your Polish. And the Southern European, from that seed, mixed seed, gave birth to your Greeks, your Romans, your British, your Spanish, and your Portuguese. So this was, as the masters explained in this chart here, the migration of Africa and the alien extraterrestrial visits and gene mixing. Okay, now, I can't, the timeline is a very long timeline. We're going into the Pleistocene era, we're going into the, different eras of time where beings were coming in, what they refer to as the Ice Age, they refer to as the other ages that took place where extraterrestrials were intervening, intercepting, extracting DNA, etc. But this is literally what the master teachers explained to us. So within all of that, these extraterrestrials have literally fused their biological DNA in with human beings. So they are walking amongst us. They are in skin suits. And it's very hard for you to know who's who. The master has pointed out some to us. You know, he's explained that, for instance, Anthony Robbins. He's explained like David Bowie. Yeah, it was an extraterrestrial from David Bowie? Mars. Yeah. He's explained Nikola Tesla. Okay. Not Mars, Venus, beg your pardon. David Bowie's from Venus. Nikola Tesla, another Venetian. Yeah, they had a visitation from an extraterrestrial in the 60s called Valthor. You can go and actually research. Valthor came with, people called, there were 6 of them that came to the American government. And each time extraterrestrials come to the planet, what they do is they actually visit the ruling government, and they won't go to just any and anybody. How they see it is that you're the one in power, so we'll come to you. That's how extraterrestrials work. So, for instance, they came to Hitler, they came to Eisenhower, and there was even the ones that we know in the movie Predator. They actually came, but they were found as being too grotesque as to actually look at. So what they did was they sent the beings from Aldebaran. Now the Aldebaran beings were insulted. What the masters explained, that they got insulted by the meeting that was had, and they went back in time and met up with Hitler and formed what is known as the Thule Society. Okay, you've got research about Madame Blavatsky and there were witches known as Zigrum and Madame Blavatsky, and then you had the 3, I've forgotten the name, those 3 other Masonic type of men that worked alongside with them, okay, and that brought about your Theosophical Society and many different societies, and the Third Reich, and all of these were being born out of the fact that they've been meeting with extraterrestrials. So Hitler was heavily involved in extraterrestrial technology. And this is why we have certain advanced technology that started coming out of Europe, that started coming out of the West. And, and obviously China, you had China who had been visited many, many times by beings from their star systems, okay, from the planet Jomon, all right, who were visiting them, and also Greys that are also being visiting the Chinese and giving them technology. So there's a whole bunch of different extraterrestrials, okay, that have been mixing in, and some of them leave their traits which are quite noticeable, and then there's those who have become so human-like in appearance that it's very hard to detect unless there's certain traits of them that is picked up. And that's what Partner Bambi Anun has been doing. It's been giving us certain traits that we can pick up or show us that this person's either an android or robotoid. Like he explained about, what's his name? He was a president that was an ambassador. He became an ambassador for the extraterrestrials. What's his name? Was it? It's not Truman. It's all you can find all this out in the Man from Planet Risk book. It's all in there if you ever get to purchase that book. But he explained that he was a robotoid. Okay, and the way you're able to look at it is the way his eyes are. He even explained about Kevin Hart, and Kevin Hart that he's actually an what did he explain? He's Jimmy Carter. That's it, Jimmy Carter. He's a robotoid, and he explained about that guy, the actor, the black actor, short guy, Kevin Hart. He explained that he's not an android. There's another thing he used basically for Kevin Hart. I can't remember what he is. I think he's a hybrid, the master teacher explained. And he explained about his eyes off center. If you look at one of his eyes, I think his right eye is off center, but don't quote me on that. So there's certain things that when the master, he's been giving us, Partner Babyadun has been giving us certain updates. And one of those, out of those updates that he gives us, he also gives us information about certain beings, extraterrestrials, even to the point where extraterrestrials have been using 3D TV, and now you've got 4K, and I think you're going even higher with the different definitions that are coming out. So these are all extraterrestrial technology that is slowly seeping into society, but unbeknown to us, it's all a form of control, because these are working off of lights, and those lights and those photons, when people are now glued to their TV, because there's so much out there now, do you get what I'm saying, in the form of game shows and movies and TV series. You're like literally, I mean, one time I checked the list and it was just ridiculous. Apple are doing TV series, Amazon are doing TV series. You got TV series on the regular news channels, and it's just on and on and on. So these are all forms of distraction and control, because, as I said, the light photons that are coming into the retina, okay, they're working off of certain signals, and those signals are being picked up by the eye and being coded in your DNA. So this is extraterrestrial technology. Likewise, with obviously we know about what the masters explain regarding the DNA companies now, like ancestry.com, etc., who have been using that to identify certain genetic markers of the Caucasian seed, because there's certain hybrids that they're looking to exterminate or get rid of, because they only want a pure seed, the A negative, or what's it called, all the negative seeds, A negative, B negative, etc. You with me? So this is all an extraterrestrial plot. This is a plan ET. So I hope that is a good enough explanation as to what is going on this planet. If you need more.
How do they mix with us?
They mix with us because although they are extraterrestrials, they also have the same amount of chromosomes. You see, when chromosomes are in doubles, like you have 36 chromosomes for the human, okay, and you have 48 chromosomes for certain extraterrestrials, and etc. When they are in sequence and they're balanced in numbers, extraterrestrials have the ability to either remove certain chromosomes or increase the amount of chromosomes. So it's all about genetic engineering. So these extraterrestrials, some of them were doing genetic engineering. That's what gave birth to the Adamite race, through genetic engineering, you see. And then when you read your Genesis story, it says God made man in his image and after his likeness. So that is in itself, when you go to the original meaning of the word image and likeness, you're talking about personality and genetic seed or traits. You understand? So these genetic traits is what is within the Adamites now.
So are you saying that the way they mix with us is through genetic engineering? I mean, like in a laboratory?
That's right. That's right. That's how the Adamites were created. So your biblical story is about your Adamites, which was taken from an older story about the creation of the Adamu. Okay, and this was your. You go through this those scriptures. You find Cadmon, and you find Zakar, and you find Adam. So the Adamu project was a project that was set up by extraterrestrials known as the Pleiadians and known as the Anunnaki. Okay, they actually set up a project to clone a species that they could control, rule, and also some of them used for food. Does that make sense?
So I'm just trying to understand this mixing. So would they kidnap a person,
That, that's right.
get DNA and take it into their laboratory? Because we hear these stories over and over.
Well, you hear of abductions, right? So you hear that people get abducted every day, or and they said that they have weird insertions in them, up their nose, in their back, etc. Well, some people are also genetically related to some of these extraterrestrials, because what they do is they take them and extract their DNA in order to clone them. You understand? And some of them are children that reside here. Some of us are of that, but we weren't abducted. We were placed there. When you refer to back into the book, Genetic Design, Intelligent Design, Divine Design, it says here that we were placed here. The human seed was placed in the Indian Ocean. So our origin is of the Sirius star system. When one of our supreme ancestors, known as Ptah, what he did was he was able to utilize the DNA, his DNA chromosomes, and he placed in there the information required for us to live on this in this realm. Why is that? It should be is the question. The reason being is that there was three stars in the Orion star system, one of the stars in the Orion star system, in the Sirius star system. There was Sirius A, Sirius B, and Sirius C. Sirius C, it collapsed. It was about to die. And what took place on Sirius C is that there were beings that were told to go and warn the beings on Sirius C, or the planets on Sirius E, that this Earth or this sun was about to die. Okay, they had to remove the beings from there and raise them higher. So just like what Parnabab Yanun is here to do with us, he has been sent to raise our vibration so we can raise ourselves, so that what the calamities that will be partaken or going to happen to this planet, we will survive it, because we have the ability. So he's here to transform us. So the same thing likewise took place on Sirius C. Sirius C was a planet that was about to die, or a sun. So the beings on those various planets were instructed to raise their vibration and transform. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So what happened was that some of us didn't heed the warning. So because we didn't heed the warning, we were taken and we had to restart again on a lesser, lower vibrational state. This is what Earth is. That's why we're here. Okay? We were placed here in order to relearn what we're supposed to learn, and then make ourselves, transform ourselves back into those higher realms. So,
Wow.
yeah.
I mean, we've been far off that mark.
We have been far off that mark, but we have just like right now. I'm going to jump back to the question I was saying earlier, and I asked, when you get something precious or a material, I'm just going to use yes, Tua.
In the chat, somebody answered your question, that question.
Oh, okay. Well, regarding the upgrade.
Yes, so
Okay.
there questions in the chat, but somebody actually
Okay,
answered
yeah.
that.
So yeah, so if you check the chat, but essentially, if you're being upgraded, okay, what you do is, I mean, I'm gonna try and see if I can read the chat, but when you're being upgraded to a higher, let's just say an iPhone or whatever, what would you do with the iPhone? You buy the iPhone, then you probably get insurance on it, yeah. Then what else would you get to protect? You get something, a cover to protect it, yeah, so that when you drop it, it doesn't get damaged, etc. Well, the analogy is very similar to us. We have somebody who's come here to upgrade us, yeah, and we have to think of ourselves as being precious, or the soul, because the soul ultimately and your etheric body is the most precious jewel. That's why, again, when you read Partner Yanun at the beginning of his thing, he always says, "My beloved children of wu-nuwaupu," and sometimes you say, "Jewels of my divine eyes." You understand? So he's explaining that we are precious in that sense, that we have to be upgraded or, deprogrammed, detuned from all of this mess. Our DNA has to be upgraded. And in order for you to be upgraded, you have to be taught the right information. And the right information comes by way of knowledge, which is encoded in your DNA. And what this knowledge is supposed to do is supposed to activate those dormant genetic memories that you have of who you were and how powerful you are, and your memories of what you could do as a supreme being. So back to the analogy of the mobile phone. When the mobile phone is upgraded, they also give you new software, don't they? And that new software is you're able to do great things with your phone. You could now you can beam this, and you could even use it as a remote control, and you can do scanning with it, and you can do all sorts of magical or, feats. Most people don't do it because, just like the human being, we don't apply all the necessary things, facilities that the mobile phone has, or what we have. We don't practice it. We don't adhere to it. We don't upgrade it and enhance it. So you need a being that will guide you to teach you how to enhance your powers, how to upgrade your powers, how to tap into the true you, the essence of who you really are. And that's what's happened to us. So, that memory loss of who you are, you have to be retaught who you are again. And this is where the master teacher, through the many schools, etc., and also has the hard time of also explaining things to us, purely because we have mixed seed now. Our seeds are so mixed in with the Mukasu, with other races, that imagine you being on a radio station with so much static, that what you have to do is find the right station. And as you keep tuning and fine-tuning, you pick up on that radio station, which is, 99.9 FM, where you get the vibe, and the vibe in the music there is soothing, because now you're enjoying the music. So all these analogies is to say that is you. You're being fine-tuned, you've been realigned, and that's why the chanting, the meditation, the music, the language, especially the language, because the language acts as a modulator. What does it mean by is modulation? Modulations are frequencies. So when you're saying things like ah, e, u, if you doing our language, put kawun, rahubat, kawun, atir, yeah. What else is there? There's many words what it's doing is there's a modulation taking place. And that modulation is reactivating your genetic makeup. And it's also creating your cells to vibrate on a certain frequency so that it can protect you from adverse forces that are constantly around us. What we don't realize is there's so many frequencies and so much static, okay, and radio frequencies and electromagnetic frequencies and ultra high frequencies that are all around us. And we have to be protected by that. That protection comes by way of the language. Okay, that protection comes by way of the meditations and the chanting that we do. So the reason for the 939 if you're able to do it, is so that you're constantly protecting your being, just like how you would if you found, if you had a precious car, or, we do it with our cars, don't we? We insure it. We make sure when the tires, got a flat, we replace the tire. We put a bit of oil in if the oil is low. When it needs gas or petrol, we go to the petrol station and fill it up. I'm just using these things in real life issues, and then what you can do is, if you, obviously not literally everything, but if you look at the being who you are and what you're supposed to do for yourself, do you get what I'm saying? To keep yourself at a maintained level, and then enhancing your being, walking in nature, having a good well-being, in your mind state, your physical state, your consciousness, etc. And constantly keep doing this, because there are many elemental forces and many forces also within your very fiber of your DNA, because you've got ancestors who are also in your genetics as well. Okay, those 30 spirits that the masters explain about. And you also, if you have a spouse or mate, yeah, in your family. So, I could go on and on. I mean, please, feel free, please ask questions, because I'm gonna, if there's any questions, please, because I could be talking on and on and on. So somebody's got their mic, the radio on or something. Could they turn it off, please? Okay, are there any more questions? Jackie, I hope that cleared up a lot of maybe questions you had regarding. Okay. Thank you for asking, and I'm more than happy to elaborate further if you're confused about anything. I'm gonna try and see if there's where the questions at. Hold on a second, chat. Let me go to the chat. Are there any questions at all from anyone?
I was also wondering if we can coexist with them, with these ETs.
Yeah, I mean, you can coexist with anybody, but what it is you have to stay on your frequency. You have to stay on your channel, because you have antelopes and deer and lions coexisting. The only time really they have a fear of themselves is when the lion's chasing them for dinner. But most of the time, zebras and antelopes, etc., they're coexisting with predatory animals. And also likewise, you have 6 ether forces, ghostational forces, and you have 9 ether forces, all existing in one environment. What it is when you start to move yourself into their environment and start pretending that that's who you are, that's what you're of. You with me? Like acting like this is who you are. It's like you're no longer now being in your natural nature. You're now in somebody else's mental state. You're not acting like the lion, or you're not acting like the zebra, or you're not acting like the Caucasian race, and you can see it. Like, I was just walking by from the train station today, and what I saw, I saw Nagarus. Sorry, could somebody please mute their mic? I've got their mic going on. Tautak. So you have people coming from, going to these shows, these clubs, etc., and you can see the way they're dressed and how our Nagaru are dressed. That is, we're tattooing our bodies, we're putting things in our bodies, we're straightening our hair, we're relaxing, we're putting contacts in. Yeah, that's all going against your divine matrix, because you're now untuning yourself and removing your divine matrix. That's what you're doing. You're literally destroying yourself from the inside out. Because what unbeknown to many people is that there's a science now in the scientific field called epigenetics. Okay? And epigenetics is that whatever, you've got your genes, and then there's other genes that sit on top, known as transposons. Okay? And these transposons, they're able to move and shift according to whatever environment they're in, and it affects you. it can actually affect the way you behave, you know, because what it does, it switches on certain behavioral modifications in your genetics. So if you see brothers and sisters, Nagaru, now doing things that Caucasians are now doing, is because they're now losing their soul. They've actually lost their soul now. They're now just in the image and likeness of the six ether forces, or what is known as living in the image and likeness of the beast. So now the beast man is now controlling them, because now you have forces that are working on that frequency and controlling their minds and controlling their habits and controlling the way they behave, coupled with those extraterrestrials that are also not in human form, coupled with your ancestors who are also in your DNA. And some of them, remember, are not always positive. Yeah? So the ones that are positive are constantly fighting. There's a conflict that goes on where sometimes you might even have like a war of decision making, or what decision to make with certain things, you know, because they influence the way we behave and think and act. You know, when you're in a relationship, some of them can cause your relationship to go sour, or some of them can enhance your relationship. And all that also works as well, where you can be with a person for X amount of years and then they switch on you. And thinking, what was that all about? Why are they, you know, switching on me? Well, know that because now you're sharing DNA, sometimes that can flare up due to the emotional instability that comes from you, because that's what they feed off of. That's why they're known as, that's why it says emotion. The word emotion is energy, emotion. We have to keep your emotions stable and calm, because it allows them to utilize your energy and feed off of it. Likewise, Mukasu feed off of us when they constantly create these music and other sounds, etc., which we as Nagaru, if you know anything about what melanin does, melanin has the ability to process and convert light and sound. So it can actually, your body emits energy constantly at a certain frequency and a certain rate. And certain elementals or Caucasians or other races, they feed off of your energy. So when you're in the crowd and you're going to their clubs and doing all of these things and smoking and cursing and all the unnatural things, that's what they are programmed to actually do. You're now becoming a wicked being, an evil being, because now you're giving off evil energy, which they're feeding off. And these elementals and extraterrestrials are able to feed off of you, because that's what they feed off. They feed off evil, wicked, negative energy. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so it's very, very important for us to keep on the right frequency. See if I can find something in actual facts. Sorry. Is it actual? Yeah, actual fact. Same book again, Divine Design, and I'll read it to you. So, and also know, very important, know that, here you go, right. Know that the female, she carries our mitochondrial DNA. This is why it's so important as well that we keep our daughters and our feminine, which is what I'm saying, in a certain state of mind in the way they behave, because they are the recorders of our genetics and our ancestry in their DNA. You know, and all of this is passed on from the child onto the child if the female is living in an appropriate way of life. But I read from, this is Divine Intelligent Design, Divine Design or Plot Aliens, Actual Fact, series number 46. So it says verse 111. So Nuwaupians, you have residence, okay? That's residence. So look up these words. I'm going to repeat it again. So Nuwaupians, you have residence. That's your own personal field, okay? So around you right now, what is known as your aura, okay? It's a field of energy which it permeates and it vibrates and it gives us a particular aura or color, okay? That's your personal field. You can actually go and research this. It's called Kirlian photography, okay? You have a bioelectric field that's around you. This is your personal field in your yakhasat genes. Okay? So you have a personal field in your genes. And resonant. So you have residence, and then you have resonant. So resonant frequency. So that's resonation. Yeah, something that's resonating, vibrating, and pulsing. Okay, that's resonating. Resound, or the sounds we as wu-nuwaupians know as C major for this Wahu Makwan universe. F major for this Mikwak planet. I repeat that again. We as Nuwaupians know as C major for this Wahu Makwan universe. This one universe is vibrating on the tone of C major, okay, of the C major note. Then you have the F major for this Mikwak planet. And A major for your physical khatat body. Okay? Have we got a lixture of tones here? Mafhuzat. Yeah, Tawtat. Yeah, in that book, I'll just elaborate more on the A. Mafhuzat. Yeah. Okay, but I'll keep reading and I'll go back to A. So A major for your physical khatat body, vibrating or resonant frequencies played. Yeah, so your body instrument. Yeah, your body instrument. Last couple of months back, or couple of classes, I was explaining that your bones, okay, actually, they vibrate, because they're actually, your bones harden based on certain osteoblasts, etc., that cause your bones to harden and fuse. But initially, your bones are made up of crystals, okay? And those crystals, what they do, they actually vibrate when you're chanting or you're exposed to a sound, because your body is actually an instrument. It's not there. That's okay. Let me see if I can find anything that's close to it. Okay, essentially what it explains about the note A for your body is that the A major for your physical body is that your body acts as a capacitor. Okay, when you're actually chanting on the note of A, what it does is it actually draws currents from the environment, and your body stores it as energy, which is then utilized by your body. You see what I'm saying? To actually nourish your DNA or your cells of your body. So you can actually heal yourself with this frequency. All right, this tone. So this is the note of A. So your body it can actually store, it's like a capacitor. Okay. So vibrating or resonant frequencies played at once creates harmony in your hormones. Okay, so the F, A, and C, when they're in harmony, it actually causes it has harmony in your hormones. And if you know anything about hormones, hormones obviously are what is secreted, okay, into various organs, or certain organs are secrete hormones to keep your body in balance, to keep you conscious, to keep you aware, to keep your body healthy. Okay, hormones are secreted on various different places, from the pituitary gland, the hypothalamus, etc., etc. Yeah, you have different hormones that are doing certain works. But because if you are exposed to frequencies that are not in tune with your natural nature, you have different maladies or sicknesses that manifest, because you're not in harmony with your true natural rhythm or frequency or tone. So this is why the FAC is conducive for us, because it works for us. It's the harmonious tone, and your cells vibrate on that, and it's causing the healing. Okay, so moving on. And these can also be transmitted in the fields or passed on through a non-resident frequency or non-local resonance into your consciousness and affects your genes. I'll read that again. Verse 112. And these can also be transmitted in the fields or passed on through a non-resident frequency. So basically, another non-resident person, a being. So you have your residents, who you are, then you have another person that is probably close to you or lives with you or even sleeps with you, etc., your partner, your lover, whatever. Okay, they also have a frequency and a resident field, and that can be passed on through a non-resident frequency or non-local resonance into your consciousness and affects your genes. So each race vibrates on their own scale of Masak music. Yeah, each race. So we all have different vibrational scales that we vibrate and resonate on and have harmony on. But the moment you then start to live in the image and likeness of other than self and kind, and you partake of their frequencies, etc., just like, you know, when a musician, what's the first thing they do, or one of the important things that they have to do before they play a musical instrument? Can you name it? What do they do? Before they even practice, they go tune it. They go tune the guitar, they go tune the piano, they go tune it to that right note. You see what I'm saying? So likewise with us, we also have to tune ourselves into the right notes, you with me, in order to play our instrument. And this is why, again, constant practice of it. You can actually get an app now that you can, you know, have where you can actually practice your tones. Ah, e, oo, and one brother of ours, Haptui Re Hatap. I see you, Adi, and I see you, Dorinda, so I'll come to you, okay? He has explained on countless classes about the different tonations and the different vowels, okay, that we use in our Misbatia or in ancient times that kept that frequency and tone and resonance. So going back to verse 113, each race vibrates on their own scale of Masak music. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. This is why if you listen to Afaf Re Ka'a Masak African music, it is unlike Dravadu Indian or Atralu Aborigine or Nagalu Asian music. The key notes are not the exact same. Verse 114, the black or African can be in harmony with Astralu, Aborigines, Australia, Dravadu, Dravidians, India, Nagalu, Asians, Asia. All depend on the drum, yet not the Kakasu Caucasoid, who are out of sync with all others and cannot blend in to form harmonies. In their hormones, they are the unalike creatures, disagreeable ones. So, you know, it's not. Oh yeah, it's just, I don't know where that's popped up from. I can't see it on here. Oh, okay. Let me just close that down. Tell that down. Yeah, so this is not as is, you know, many people might take offense to it, you know, feel uncomfortable with what we teach, but it's not a race thing. This is not, you know, I'm right, you're wrong. Yeah, it's not about it's just about facts. Okay, and the facts and the reality is, okay, I've lost connection. I think I've lost connection. Can I be heard? I can be heard, yeah? Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you, bro.
All right, tell. Okay. Yeah, so what's taking place is that you have different beings so who vibrate. It's just a reality in nature. You with me? Just like how when you you meet somebody and you're like, I'm not feeling that person's vibe. Do you know what I mean? He's got a bad vibe about him, or she's got a bad vibe. I'm not feeling that vibe, or even the music. I'm not feeling this music. Yeah, it's like the same thing. It's just that it's now extrapolated to humans or who you think or believe are humans. But in reality, the Caucasoid race or the Mukasu, they were made, okay? And they know this. If you don't think they know, they know. They know who their origin and who their makers are. It's just that they haven't told the general populace. Because if they were to tell them that they're being designed by extraterrestrials, trust me, there will be anarchy on this planet. Yeah, so they have to maintain a level of control. And this is what they do through their movies and through their TV shows and their theaters and all of these different things that they go to is to sedate them, is to keep them in that perpetual belief state that they have this wonderful God character, they have all the things that they is good for them, they have all this control, they have all this money, they have all this wealth. It's all a form of control. You with me? And that's how we fall for it, because the what we deem as wealthy and precious to us now has become the mobile phone, the house, the cars, the this, all the materialistic things, and that's what they're into. So we are living in the image and likeness. Don't get me wrong. Again, don't take it like we not. There are necessities. Don't get me wrong. So there are things that you need, but then there's things that you start to then put all your energy into. You with me? Idol worship or idol worship. ADLE and ADOL. Both sound phonetically the same. One is when you become lazy and don't do for self, and one is when you're worshiping other than self. Okay, and that's what most of us do in the record industries, the music industries. We now watch movies now, and oh, we know about this person and that person being an actor and all of that. Even even our own Nagaru now are now getting the, what's it called, the walk of in Hollywood. What do they call it? Where they get a star. They get a star, put them Boulevard, Hollywood Boulevard. They get that star given to them. I think Jamie Foxx got it the other day for being honored as one of their, stars. Well, what they're doing is once you accept that star, you're now stepping into their world. You understand? So there's many, many things on different levels and different facets that goes on to control and detune the Nagaru race from who you truly are, And we have a being that has been sent to show us all these realities. Whether you accept it or not, that's a different thing. Yeah, because it's not by force. What resonates with you, as I explained here, is that you have a genetic agreement, a genetic lock, okay, encoded, which is activated when the right information comes and when you're ready to receive it. Okay, so just continue and then I'll stop here. So all depend on the drum, yet not the Kakasu Kokozoids, who are out of sync with all others and cannot blend in to form harmonies. In their hormones, they are the unalike creatures, disagreeable ones. Long after each race left Africa, as one race each was visited by different aliens, extraterrestrials from above. The Aborigines had their own visitors who mixed with their DNA. Also the Indians, that's this chart I showed you earlier. Also the Indians had their own visitors who mixed with their DNA. And the Asians had their own visitors who mixed in with their DNA, their genes, their double helix. And also the Caucasoid had their own visitors who mixed in with their Nordic DNA and even mixed with other chromosomes with theirs. The Pleiadians made the Nordics and bred them with other Huanat animals. One, the baboon, mandrill, 40 chromosomes. The canine, 78 chromosomes. Remember I was telling you about chromosomes have to be balanced, you see what I'm saying, or have to be equal in amount. So you have 40, 78, and porcine, 38 chromosomes. And this, what happened was it to alter their unnatural nature in order to use them for their own purposes. Okay, so the Caucasian race, this is what happened to them. And then from that, the mixture with the Adamites, etc., made them wicked, weak, and just unnatural by nature and destructive by nature. This is what you're seeing now, and this is what our people, many of us, are turning and becoming like them, living in the image and likeness of the beast. Okay. Any more questions on that? Oh, sorry, I see Dorinda. I'll go to you, Dorinda, and then I'll move to Dorinda. If you unmute your mic and ask your question, please.
Thank you so much for the explanation that you just said. I have a two-part question.
Okay.
The Negroid race, some of them, I live in America, some of them are saying they're not black, but they look very much African descendants. But I was wondering, first of all, is there a difference? And then number two, how does the meat, fish, food affect our frequency that you were just talking about? Like what takes us out of our frequency?
Oh, so many things takes us out of our frequency. The foods, the music. I mean, on specifics, you got rock music, for instance. Any music that's, like I said, there's musical scales. So like if you listen to, Caucasian music or pop music, you can tell the notes and the frequencies are more high pitched. Their vocal cords is more high pitched. They have a higher frequency pitch. How you know this is back in the time when, this is as an example, but when you go and look at our late singers like the Marvin Gayes, and even before them the Barry Whites, and name some other ones, you know what I mean? Sam Cooks, the late greats, Otis Redding, they had voices. You with me? And those voices they resonate. They had what they call referred to as soul. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, what took place is that as time, actually, in fact, do we have good and evil? Otherwise, I'm gonna have to try and see if I can get my my tablet. I didn't want to. Let me see if I can find good and evil. There's a book. Again, actual fact is called Good and Evil. Let me see if I can bring it up. There you go. Yes. So, in answer to your question, there's different. That's the one. Tap. Right. So, good and evil. If you haven't got this book, see if I can show you on the camera. Okay, try and get this book. It goes into yeah. Again,
Yes.
back into the frequency. So let me just find. Okay, so one example the master gives is, for instance, the churches. Yeah, if you look at one side, you have what is known as the African voodoo in Haiti, where people get possessed, etc. And the other side, you have the church in church. Now, they will say they're getting possessed by the Holy Spirit or the Holy Ghost. But really and truly, can you differentiate the two?
No.
Both are still getting picked up by some force that's
Yes.
possessing their bodies. Yeah, but one's claiming that and one's holy because it's from God, but they don't know what God this is. This is what this book breaks down in here. All right, but and you got Santeria as well. So these are some of the things that your soul, you're offering up your soul. Okay, just try and actually, in fact, let me read from verse 114 of page 18. Okay, this is called Actual Fact Series number 31, Good and Evil. All right, so if you can get hold of that, I read from verse 113. So, you become filled with the pure Tayaf ghost called Holy Ghost, Holy Spirit. In fact, let me even go back. Actually, this is answering your question. Unlike self and kind, this is so perfect. Verse 103, page 17 of Good and Evil, verse 103, the master teacher explains it like this. He controls their akal mind, khatat body, and ba'a soul, ruling their spirit by tones, masak music, his and her voices, ghala. Yeah. Now listen to our own race. After 2000 AD, we have some of our own race speaking and sounding just like Pa Kakasnadu, the Caucasoids. Verse 105, unlike self and kind, it took 400 years to make a Negroid out of an African. Look at them, listen to them. They have transformed and even speak nasally. Yeah. So, at one time in the music industry, they said, we want you to sing this way. We want you to sing in a falsetto. because we were singing in natural voices, and then they said, bring it up a notch, bring it higher pitch. So you had most of our musicians or singers going, yeah, singing in a very high, yeah, it's called a falsetto. And even if you hear the word falsetto, yeah, it's a false. They're mimicking the high pitch of the Caucasian race, because that's their scale of music. Okay? Listen to them. They're transformed and even speak nasally now, yet will not be accepted by Pa Kakasnadu, the Caucasoids, ever. They transformed by offering their Ba'a'u souls to their six ether forces. Sorry, could someone mute their mic, please? Okay. That's why they have sounds of their sawat voices coming at you all day. TV, cinema, music, radio, MP3. Their tones enter your being and take over from the wakut time you wake up. They devour your whole being. Za'am, or the tat now, the update to the word religion, is the same. Your ranam at chants, your namaz or at prayers in their lahaj languages, tones received by their tayaf ghost, not your own Muslafu ancestors. And their tayaf ghost can't help you. It's just static white noise. So you become filled with their pure tayaf ghost called Holy Ghost, Holy Spirit. Look at our Salah race in church when they claim to be filled by the Holy Spirit, speaking in tongues. And then it gives you a biblical quote. 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 1 to 13. 1 Corinthians chapter 14, verse 1 to 25. And Acts chapter 2, verse 2 to 4. Foaming from the famam mouth, shaking on the floor. I won't read the quotes and verses. That is demon possession of whom El Shaddai, the demon. Yeah, so when you go and look into the word El Shaddai, there's a lot of churches, especially Nagaru churches, they talk about El Shaddai Church or El Shaddai Holy Ghost, Holy Spirit Church, etc. What they don't understand, again, is the languages. When you look into the root of the word Shad or El Shaddai, you find the word Shad. And Shad means demon. You understand? So when they're actually saying El Shaddai, they're calling El Shaddai, it's actually calling an unholy spirit force or demonic force to come inside them. All right? So that's, you can find the word Shad or El Shaddai in Deuteronomy 32:17. This is the same with voodoo or Santeria rituals. The person possessed is called a horse, as they are thought of to be ridden by the possessing spirit called Iowa. The possessed person may move unnaturally and speak an unknown language, and it can seem very dramatic or somewhat frightening to outside viewers. Verse 119, that ringing you often hear in your head is your own Muslafu ancestors trying to tune in on you. I'll read that again because a lot of people hear it. I know I personally hear it. And in order for you to make sure it's distinctive and that you're not going crazy or you don't have what's it called? Tinnitus? Yeah, in your ears or anything like your eardrum burst or anything like that, or you've got water in your ears and it causes a ringing. There's a particular frequency that you may not just be at still, or you may be doing something and you hear the and then it might just disappear. Okay? So the masters explain that ringing you often hear in your head is your own Muslafu ancestors trying to tune in on you to speak with you, yet you block them out with white noise of other races and their Nara fire spirit forces, 6 ether. So many of our Nagaru brothers and sisters, he explains, you offered your Ba'ah soul to religions such as Islamism, Mu'arab, Arab channel, or frequency for your own khatat body. Their masak music, ranam art, chants, namaz or art, prayers can never reach back to you, so you get no help. Just call out over and over, day after day. Okay? I'm going to jump to another portion where it talks about the singers. Right, here you go. Perfect, right. So, verse, okay, verse 163. Give your haya, life, your future, your ba'a soul over to him in his own undercover way. So you fakor think this is what I want when it's what he wants. Verse 165. This is how I want to act or look to be accepted. This is blind faith. It is blind takak faith. And in time, you bump into all kinds of heartaches, makab pain, and maraz disease, sufferings. And then he is not there to help you, and you are all alone. He'll do anything to be your leader, to rule you. That is the wu-nuwaupu, devil's trick, in many forms. Yet all are a form of za'am, religion. Blind faith in his system, what he shows you to program you. Yeah, so all of these are programming, what the masters explain in another book called The Neuroscience of Wu-Nuwaupu. He explains that these are programming chips. Okay, so you have like a computer chip, and on the computer chip, there's, certain ones and zeros, etc., that is programmed or put into this chip so that it works, alongside them, on the motherboard. Likewise, the same thing, we have what is known as programming DNA. These are our chips. And they get programmed because of the light modulation and frequencies of light that is being emitted by these 3D, 4K, ultra high definition TVs that are coming into the mind's eye. And what we don't realize is because they're in the form of photons, they're coming in at different speeds and different frequencies. But what is being done is because your eyes are receptors, that is picking it up, okay, and it is being conduced or transduced. That means it's being converted into an electrical form. And what happens is once it's turned into an electrical form, it activates the cells in your brain, which releases hormones. Okay, so from electrical, then it becomes chemical. And that chemical hormones are being secreted and into your body now. Hormones take longer to reach certain organs, but once they're secreted, it will go to your lungs, it will go to your liver, it will go to wherever is where it's supposed to go through your blood system. And in that's how he's able to capture you. That's how he's able to control you, because what's happening as well, these photons of light, part of it is that extraterrestrials who have the technology can actually ride on these photons of energy, and they can come into your being. So like I said, they are constantly bombarding us. So we have to do rituals in order to counteract them. So hence the master has has designed rituals for us. He's given us a guidelines of what to do, at 9, 3, and 9, or the fasting that we do, or speaking the misbatia. Because if you're constantly speaking it on a daily basis, you are actually buffering and pushing out these negative forces. They won't be able to penetrate into your being. You create an auric energy field. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay.
I travel quite a bit and I enjoy the foods of the culture that I'm visiting. But am I throwing off? I was wondering what if meat and fish are throwing my frequency off?
Yeah, I'll get to the. Don't worry, I haven't forgotten that part. Yeah. So
Okay.
we have the Wapian guide. We have a guide. What's it called again?
Okay.
The 33 Commandments, okay, of a
Okay.
Sabian. And in there, the master explained like fowl, fish food, seafood. Those are things we can consume. Blood meats such as goats, cows, and those kind of things is what we don't consume. because
Okay.
what he's explained is that the spirit is in those creatures, and those creatures vibrate on a lower frequency where it allows beings to actually come into them. So
Oh, this is so helpful. Thank you.
that's okay. It's not me, it's my partner Babi Anun is explaining. So we're
Mm-hmm.
just the teacher, student teachers. But in his explanation, he's explained that certain extraterrestrials or disembodied beings, okay, have the ability because they vibrate on a particular frequency. He's explained that you are what you eat. So if you're consuming blood meat or you're addicted and it's very hard for you to break eating blood meats, what's happening is your vibrational level stays on the frequency of animals. Does that make sense?
Makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah, like beast animals, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
bipeds, etc., or quadrupeds. And then these elementals or even disembodied extraterrestrials, they can come into your being and they can reside there. We go back to when I was talking about the resident frequency, yeah? Non-local and local frequency. So you have different, that's what I'm saying, we're constantly being bombarded on all different ranges of frequencies, on the spectrum.
Yes.
Yeah, so we have to protect ourselves. And these are the remedies and the formulas and, and rituals that the master teacher has provided us with. And if you're serious in upgrading your divine being, these are the things that we as Sabians practice. You know, again, it's not an overnight thing. So I'm not going to stand here and say, you're going to do it in a week. It's a continuous thing. If you go and study our ancestors, African ancestors like Egyptians or Mali, etc., they always were doing things on a rich. They always did rituals. Is what I'm saying. They always were constantly doing rituals because they knew that the spirit world was real and that we were in tune with our ancestors on that level and they were protecting us constantly. This is why they were able to then give us names to untune us from our ancestors. But let me continue reading and we'll jump into the different names, etc., of these artists who had those voices. So you join his wars, get trained to Katul, kill for him in a uniform. You join the team sports to entertain him. You put on a uniform, you work for him, act for him, model for him, sing for him, rakos, dance for him, all for him in his Shabbat image. You live and will die for him. He is the will, evil. Their Muslafu ancestors cannot help nor hear you. Your voice box, Hazuz, vibrates unlike others, and it's why you can tell the difference when a Kakasnadu Caucasoid speaks and when a Nagaranadu Negroid speaks. Vibration is not the same and on different frequencies. They have been killing of all the Nagaranadu Negroids who Ranoi sing, Chamim black voices, or Tazuz art vibrations. So the black voices or the black vibrations has been gradually being killed off. Just look at what they have been qatul, killing, and saying they died of, or that, or this is why. Look between the 1900s to 2000 AD to now at all the Khamim, black singers who all seem to just transition, such as Eartha Kitt, a raspy, soulful voice, Ray Charles, Donny Hathaway, James Brown, soulful voice, Etta James, a soulful voice, Whitney Houston, a soul-filled voice, to name a few. Barry White, Marvin Gaye, Otis Redding, Curtis Mayfield, Jerry Levert, Lou Rawls, Phyllis Hyman. And it's another thing the master teacher explained with all of these artists, get the music out, play them, listen to them, because that's also helping also with the rejuvenation. It rejuvenates your cells, your memories as well. So that's a good thing to actually play the old music. Do you know what I mean? The Sarah Vaughns and Dina Washingtons and people like that. If you listen to them as well, they're also soothing to the soul. Okay, so that's something, it actually rejuvenates cells. So Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes, Melvin Franklin, David Ruffin, Eddie Kendricks, Teddy Pendergrass. Yeah, so bring out all them records. If they're all dusty, dust them off. Yeah, and play them. Or go on YouTube and just put on a playlist and just sit back, listen, sing along with them if you remember them. It all brings back those memories. Okay, Luther Vandross, meaning Ripperton. Where was I now? So, jumping to, you will see all with unique Nagar Nadu Negroid voices. Now, new Nagar Nadu Negroids sound like them. They are removing our race's tones in the West and bred from the 1600s to 2000 AD. That is, it took 400 years for them to make a Negro, or Muhmem Mudwa'u. 400 is quite significant. Between the 300th century and the 400th century, the 300 to 400 years is a very significant figure. Reason being is that that's when DNA or genes actually, how can I say, they recalibrate themselves. Every 3 to 400 years, the genes start to just recalibrate themselves back to how it used to be. So there's a concentrated effort which they are aware of, where they have to bombard us again and keep us sedated. And that's what they do. So they will, because their genes start to get weaker, they have to mix in with us in order to strengthen their genes. So they're very, very much aware of this. And when you study scientific papers, you know, you will start to realize and recognize what they know about us or what they know about the human genome. They know a lot. Trust me. Yeah. Where is it now? So they're removing our racist tones in the West. That's 400 years. Now what's happening is, from doing that, it's now converting us to become black devils and removed all dark-skinned persons from the public eye. They mixed all to produce a new neutrinoid race. And you can find this if you've got the publication, Man from Planet Risk. Okay, he explained about the neutrinoid race and many other books in the year circa before 2000. He was explaining about the neutrinoid race. And now, if you look on TV or look on movies, it's very hard to actually distinguish if that person is Chinese, are they Asian? They can even pass for both. They can even pass sometimes for mixed race. Yeah, there's a particular girl who stands out in my mind. She's in Dune. She's an actress in Dune, but she's played a black person or mixed race person. She's played Chinese. She's played like many different characters because she fits that profile. Yeah, she's a neutrinoid. So they're neutrinoids that are actually in society. And some of these neutrinoids are how extraterrestrials are able to weave themselves into society and you won't know. Okay? Okay, I mean, this goes on and on and on, but I hope I've answered the questions that you've asked, you've posed.
Yes.
Okay, and
Yes. What's the name of the scroll for the rituals?
okay, for the rituals, one thing Partner Babiano hasn't written a particular scroll as such. What the master teacher does, he wants you to be involved in the learning process. So you're going to find when you're reading many different books, the Patarak, Actual Facts, Master Secrets, etc., the way our minds work, he's trying to show us how our minds work. Our minds are very practical.
Oh, okay.
You with me? So when you read a particular book, you're learning something there, which you link to another book, which you're learning something there, and then you're applying that to your being. And that's how it's then yeah, it's
I agree with the doctor, yeah. At least you didn't say, no, you can stop
so
doing that.
I'm really trying to, we're trying to stop the person with their volume. But I hope you get you grasp, sorry, what I've just said.
I've learned a lot. Thank you.
You're most welcome. Feel free to ask any more questions. And there was a question I think I missed. Was it Dorinda? She had your hand up?
No, you just answered my question.
Oh, was it? Sorry. I'm getting lost of who's. I apologize. Okay, and then.
It was, I think it was Jackie.
Oh, that's it. Rahubat.
And you have some questions in the chat as well.
Okay, Jackie, your question, if you want to ask, please. The mic is open. Jackie, if you're not there, we'll jump to the questions then, and then Jackie, when you're ready to ask.
Excuse me, brother. Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead while we're waiting for Jackie. Go ahead, and then I'll try and find the
It's
questions.
just going back to what you said about the vibrations and tattoos and things like that.
Yes.
Are those sort of things able to be reversed quite easily, or is it quite a long process?
The reversing of certain glands and certain what's the word I'm looking for? If you've gone to the point where it's excessive, what the master teacher explained that there's certain things that can be what's the word I'm looking for? Reversed, okay, in your matrix. Just what I'm saying, to assist you. So if if you've excessively tattooed, or if you have piercings, etc., it's all part of you altering your matrix. Now, if you've raised yourself and you've sincerely, because remember, it's your heart seat, your energies, your vibration, it gives off a certain reading, and that reading, our ancestors read this as being somebody who's sincere and, really taking on what they say they're going to do, etc. So if you're living in the image and likeness of your ancestors, but unfortunately, during your transition, you partook of the Mukasu world and their way of life and their culture, there are things that can be helped to reverse those deformities or things on your body, etc., or glands that need to be repaired. Yeah. That can be done. That can be done. But it's all based on your sincerity. It's nothing of this is we always say it's not a religion. We don't just say it because we're saying just believe in God. We're saying it's not a religion because Wu-Sabat is a very practical, hands-on, do-it-yourself, doctrine. And you have to start living it, practicing it, etc., for it to make sense and for it to actually resonate in your life, and then obviously from that you then come into the fold of others who are doing the same in Wu-Sabat as Sabians, as Nuwaupians, and then we grow as one being, so it's a journey, and that journey, if you stick with it, you get your rewards. You understand? But it's a very practical, do-it-yourself way of life. With the right. Go ahead.
I'm just going to say I'm very, very new. I read some of the books and things many years ago, about 2003, and I'm literally just today.
Okay.
Decided I want to come back onto this journey.
Okay.
I'm feeling very excited, but I know that I've done a lot of the things that you just mentioned.
We've all been there. We've all been there.
I know, it's crazy. It's just like the things that we're brought up in as children with our parents, and the way they're indoctrinated into the Christianity religion and the society that we're in. Talk like white man, or talk like the Caucasian, act like the Caucasian, act like them and get a good job, etc., etc., etc. That doesn't necessarily work for us. As melanated people.
That's right.
We can get so far, and then they'll say like you can't go any further because we want to still control everything, and that's what I'm having an issue with, because as a man, as a melanated man, I'm struggling with the whole thing of fitting in and being part of, and still being myself, having that true essence of myself.
So serving two masters, you mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Do you know what? Yeah. What the masters? I don't know what field of work you're in, but yes, they. Okay, the encouragement.
I teach class basically.
Okay. The encouragement, what the master explained, is that yes, we definitely have to do for self. That is the number one priority. Doing for self and love and unity. Do you know what I mean? It will make us the most prosperous race on this planet if we just apply those simple formulas. Simple, okay? I'll say simple. However, because it's a do it for yourself, And because we have genetic markers, DNA, that constantly doesn't conform to who you naturally are, because we're so mixed now, it's difficult. That's the difficulty.
Yeah.
Learning to control those other aspects of your being. Once you're able to do that, do you know what I mean? And the discipline part of it is the fasting, the meditating, the learning to control and subdue certain passions. You get what I'm saying? Your mental state, all of these things. And once you it's like this. You know your mind is powerful. And there's a mind, if you know about Partner Yanun and he's been reading, you know he wrote a book called The Mind. Yeah, and
I haven't read that, but I hear about it, yeah.
okay. Have you got the holy tablets?
No, I haven't.
Okay, no worries. But there's relaxation. There's another Patarak that he's released that goes into these things about how we have certain blockages and obstacles that are all posed by the mind. Okay? And what he's explained in the mind book is that learn to corral the mind. And that comes through meditation and comes through you communicating with your higher self, your etheric being speaking to your mind, because these are all parts of your whole being. You know, these are components of your whole being. And when you speak to that mind and you say to that mind, I want you to work with me. Because in that mind, which is connected to the mental, you also have ancestors who are linked into that mind of yours. And those ancestors, some of them are agreeable and some of them are disagreeable. And you have to learn to now discern which ones are speaking to you. You'll know the ones that are speaking to you when they say, you know what, do this, do that, do you know what I mean, with whoever, and then you have a positive outcome. Or you know the ones that will say, nah, I don't want to work with him, he does this to me. Either that, then you know that there's, exactly. So you have to learn to discern those minds and the complaints of the mind. Once you start to understand that the mind is complaining, you have to learn to corral it, because it's an untamed animal. And that's what the master teacher explains in the mind scroll. So once you do... Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. I was going to say, once you are able to connect with the ancestors, when they're speaking to you or communicating with you, if the being, your being, our being feels good, then you know it's something positive. If it feels kind of like, oh, actually I don't feel good about this, or it doesn't make me feel good, then we should stay away from that.
Learning, that's right, learning to discern those things and then watching for the outcome. Because there's always they're looking for the outcome. There's always a result. There's a saying, isn't it? Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. You understand? Yeah. So you have to look at these things. This is why sometimes many of us rush into, because of our emotional state and our emotional imbalance, as opposed to looking at things as an overseer. One thing about...
And the ego.
Exactly. You're feeding the ego, yeah. And it's all fueled by emotion. Because once you understand that emotion fuels your ancestors and gets them to be triggered, learning to subdue that and control it this is why the fasting fasting is not just a physiological benefit. It's also it's a mental benefit, because now you're still in the mind. The mind is now focused on only one thing. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not distracted as much. And then when you're fasting, you're also doing something that doesn't distract you. One thing the master explained as well, especially for children, get your children into instruments, get yourself into some kind of woodwork or artwork that deals with your hands and dexterity. Because when you're using your hands, like learning to play an instrument, he's always been advocating that, because we're moving into a world of sound, vibration and frequencies. You must actually learn to know what music and scales and tones and those things are as well. So he says, yeah, exactly. So find those things, find an instrument that will help with that. And then coupled with your fasting, do you know what I'm saying, and your studying, these are things that will still the mind. it'll allow, and then you speak to the mind, tell the mind, I want you to work with me. You will work with me.
So it's the mind that's in control of the body rather than the body in control of the mind.
Exactly, mind over matter. But know that the mind has the etheric being, which is the real you.
Right.
And that etheric being speaks to the mind and unlocks certain powers that are latent within you, because the mind is like a vault. Imagine a vault where there's lots of gold and stones and semi-precious jewels and artifacts and information in there in this vault. Yeah? And you can't get access to it. Imagine that. But once you're able to then use the mind and you're able to then open that vault, you can then access all those jewels. So the master will always says, mine your mind, mine, as in, mining it, keeping it well, checking it out, etc. Mine your mind for the jewels of your soul.
Yeah.
You understand?
Thank you very much. Yes, I do. Thank you very much. I also have to apologise to Jackie. I think I jumped the queue there.
It's all right. I'm, as long as we've got enough time. Jackie, it's over to you. It's your turn. Thank you for patiently waiting. You're most welcome, my brother. Yes, Jackie, feel free to ask your question now. Rahuba Zamaltat. Jackie waiting.
Sorry, I put my hand down. I should have put it down earlier.
Oh, it's okay. It's all right. I mean, if you have a question, you have a question. But I'm going to jump to the questions in the chat because Sir Ken has told me there's a few. So, right, there's a question, I think, was it from, might be from probably Dorinda. No, it says D. So it says, the beings that will decide who is worthy, living Wu-Sabat and coming for the chosen ones, what, I'm going to just scroll down. What happens when they come back? What happens when they come back? When they come back, these beings are looking for a light, a frequency, an energy, an aura that's been emitted by their children. Because these beings are operating off of energy, not necessarily the physical body. Because your physical body emits energy. So what they're looking for is your light. And if that light is dim, they won't be able to see you, because the what we refer to as eyes in this world, they're using spiritual eyes or energies that they can sense. Imagine like, for the lack of a better word, like a snake. A snake moves in the dark and senses what's called the red field. What's it called? Ultra something or other. Infrared. There you go. Yeah, a snake senses infrared, and that's how it catches its prey, for an example. So it sees an infrared. So there's a frequency known as the electromagnetic frequency, where it's from all the way from like radio waves all the way to gamma and beyond. Yeah. So those waves of energy, your inner light has to be bright enough for them to see you, but not just to see you, but to see us as one body. Because what is to be explained is we are fragmented essence of one soul. And the master teacher again has said, and he said in many of his updates, he says, watch the, what's it called? I've forgotten the name now. The Dark Crystal. There's a movie called The Dark Crystal, okay, where these crystals are basically symbolic or represents who we are, because we're all fragmented of the same essence. And when at the end of the movie, I don't want to spoil it because I don't do spoilers, but in the end of the movie, you hopefully grasp why we have to become one being, okay? And it's all about you as a crystal, because I explained earlier, your tuning fork, your body is a natural tuning fork. Your brain is a transducer, which means it has the ability to convert information outformation into information. Yeah, it can send and receive. That's what transducer does. It sends and receives and then converts that information into your neurotransmitters. And those neurotransmitters, if I'm losing you, please stop me so I can go and show you what neurotransmitters are, etc. But these okay, thank Tautat. So these neurotransmitters, they get into they're in your blood. They go into your blood and they, how can I say, send light wave information into your being and keep you in memory of who you truly are and informs you, okay, in your way of your genes. That word that they talk about saying intelligence, if you look at the word, it says intel genetics. So it's informing you, messages in your genes that inform you, give you knowledge, give you, information or facts about who you are. So that's what's taking place when you are connected to that divine source or the omniverse or the multiverse or the universe. You're getting waves of information once you're on the right frequency where you can actually, your brain transduces it and converts it into knowledge of self and kind and who you really are and keeps you in that vibrational state. But the moment we cut ourselves away from that, we back into their world, their way of life, etc., and we're no longer tapped in, and then we start to become more like them and lose our soul. Okay, so that's what's taking place there. So the beings, when they come back, they will see, they're looking for us as one body. Okay, and they're known as the Etherians. Okay, Pa Nababianun explained about the Etherians in, again, Man from Planet Risk and some other scrolls, but you have levels. So you have the Etherians, and then you have the Nataru, who are the children of the Etherians. And then from the Nataru, the overseers or the guardians, they then birthed the Muslafu, which are our ancestors, on the various levels of ancestors. And from those ancestors, obviously, they gave birth. When you go down generations upon generations, you have your Nasabu, which are your parents. So you have all your relatives. So those relatives of yours link into your Salafu, who are your ancestors. And your ancestors, they are linked into Pa Nataru, and Pa Nataru are linked into Pa Marzaku, or the Riskians. You're with me, who are Etherians. And these Etherians are the ones that are sending light waves of energy into your chakras and giving you the energy and source of vitality that we take for granted as life. So if you really knew that we're actually linked to them, and that's why when we do certain things, we literally unplug ourselves or cut ourselves off from them, because they're the ones that feed us the energy. You can find this in Natural Ether Energy. There's a book called Natural Ether Energy. Do we have that one? All right. Brother's going to see if we've got that one, and I can read it to you. So that's to answer that. And then the next question is what happens after that? Right. So once we're raised to that level, we can transform and we come out of this realm, because as I said earlier, I don't know whether you joined the class earlier, but every planet or every solar system has a time where it either is about to die or is about to be eliminated, and beings have to be removed for a new recycling or refurbishment. Just something, just like you have in your house, sometimes you have to move the bedroom around, or you have to do a whole decorating of the house because you don't like the state it is in anymore, because it just doesn't feel right. Well, to take it another level, the way things are now on the planet is going into a destructive mode because of the beings that were left in control of it, who had dominion for the last 6,000 years, who we've explained are the Adamite and the Caucasoid race, who have all now mixed together, okay? So because of their natures are natural because of who they've mixed in with and what they've mixed in with. Being that they've got a destructive nature, this planet can also end up in a star holocaust and cause other planets to be dragged into the sun, and the sun could collapse. This is what happened on Sirius C. They got to a state where beings had to be removed of the planet. So the question, what happens after that, is that once we've raised our vibrational density and raised our vibration to the point where our ancestors are able to then come and remove us. But as you can see, it's not an easy job because of the genetic markers, because of the mixing in, because of where we have been so untuned to our natural frequency that most of us now don't even accept who they are anymore. They don't accept that they're deities or gods. They don't accept that they have these abilities. They don't accept unity amongst us, because now they become, as the masters explain here, 400 years has made them into Negroes, has made them into black devils. So not by way of choice, but more by way of influence. Yes, there are children known as the Cainites who are black devils. There are black devils in our race, don't get me wrong. So it's not like just the white man is the devil or the Indian man is the devil. There are devils in every race. But there's also ones that have been converted and influenced, and by way of DNA have become devilish in their actions and the way they conduct themselves, because that's not their natural nature. So anything that's unnatural is devilish. Do you understand? You know, we know, yeah. So that's essentially what's going on. So yeah. So that's what. So our main priority, first and foremost, obviously, is the release of our master teacher. Okay, that's our main priority, as he's explained on many levels and many times. The love and the unity is what's going to free him. Part of that love and unity is our actions as a people, you know, raising our vibrations, practicing the rituals, speaking our language, etc. All of these things is you're emitting a light, you're changing your vibrational aura, your color is changing. And this is what our ancestors will then recognize. And when the time is right, if we are worthy, because it's all about being worthy as well. If we're worthy, then they will remove those who are worthy off the planet to repopulate either another place, which the masters explained already in some updates, or to come back here and repopulate here and remove those Adamites and all the negative children who are on this planet, remove them by way of other, you know, natural disasters. The COVID virus is something that, again, that many people thought is just a virus, and where did it come from, and all of these many theories of its origin. Partly true, but partly because extraterrestrials were the ones that created the COVID virus. You with me? To remove a certain race of people off the planet. You can find this out in when you read this one here. It's called A Bridge to Salvation. Okay, the master explained in here. I find the page. So one, there's like balls of fire, great balls of fire that will be hitting the planet. He also explained about the COVID. Let me just find it. There you go. Perfect. Right. So our guardians, the Hushar insect, will kill them. Okay, no, that's something else. Sorry. Verse 340. No, that's not it. Okay, verse 341. Mulbanu, whites will die from many of natural nature's Nagaf-at viruses and Marat-at diseases. Verse 342. This COVID-19 or Kobad, what you have to realize in the Hebraic or the Aramic language, certain letters were interchangeable. So you have the word Kobad, the C equals a K. And the B, again, do your own research and you find this out. The B can sometimes be replaced with a V. Okay? So C equals K and B equals V. That's in Yiddish. Because remember, the Jews, they don't speak original Aramaic. What they speak is German, Polish, and some Hebrew or Aramaic. And it's all mixed together. And this is what is called Yiddish. Okay? This was created especially for them. It will cause a mutation in their genes due to the activation of the transposons. Remember I said earlier about the DNA and that you have under epigenetics, you have something called transposons. Don't know if you remember me explaining that or saying that. But these transposons that will target those with their God's genetic markers and eliminate them. This is part of the plan to reduce the population down by 1/3. Many even cannot stand under the sun's direct rays or get skin cancer. So he's talking about, going on. But just to highlight, he explained about the COVID and how certain things are being used on this planet to remove the species of the planet. So that's what's taking place. So the Adamites are being removed slowly by their own makers. Is this when the Adamites will be removed? Okay, yes. So yes, I hope I answered that. Right. Question T. When you make an investment for a new phone, you purchase a phone case, insurance, protect it. Exactly, T. So this is when you look at Wu-Sabat is our protection. Wu-Sabat is our insurance, yeah, against many forces that are coming constantly at us. If you only realize the miracle, okay, of what we actually have, because many people are looking for miracles of the Hollywood standard. You with me? Their idea of Moses parting the Red Sea, their idea of E.T., you know the movie E.T., where some extraterrestrial could touch a finger and then float up in the air, and people were crying at the end of the movie. Because even I cried when E.T. when E.T. went home. I cried. Do you know what I mean? I was like, this stuffed animal, plastic. Yeah, I cried over that. But the point I'm making is that we as a people, do you know what I mean? We spend so much energy on so many artificial and things that got nothing to do with us, and we don't actually concentrate on ourselves. So we have to make an investment on ourselves, whether it's a financial investment or whether it's economically, or whether it's as a whole, or whether as a physical investment in your body, your mind, your spirit, etc. That's an investment. So just as the analogy I was trying to give is that you have your phone, your brand new phone or car or whatever, you buy the insurance, you buy this, you replace this, and etc. Same thing with the same ethos should be applied to who you are. You with me? Learn your own true way of life. Learn your true nature, your natural nature, what works for you. Upgrade yourself. Learn about your way, what rituals you practice. Learn your true language. Find your true name. In all of these things is how you make a link back with natural nature and your ancestors. As I read throughout these various books of actual facts, they cannot help you because they're not on the same frequency as you, these extraterrestrial deities or gods or disembodied spirits. All they can do is keep you subjugated and subdued. And us calling on them or giving them energy and giving them life. And in giving them life, they become more powerful and they keep us subdued. You with me? So we have to fight that battle. Those who are new to Wu-Sabat, or those who know about Wu-Sabat and the master teacher, we have a constant battle. We have to keep fighting, you with me, to change this world around so that it can work for us and our children. This is what it's about. So thanks for that answer and that input, T. I'm not too sure who T is, but Tautak or Tautat. Right, see, Jimmy Carter got that. I saw the video showing the bookstore. The items there are familiar, incense, oils, etc. Does Wu-Sabat have the practice of setting intentions and rituals too? Can you speak about that? Thank you. I think I touched on that, but definitely, Wu-Sabat is about rituals and connecting with ancestors. Your altar is a gateway, a doorway to your ancestors. You speaking to your ancestors, as the masters always explain, it's like having a conversation with an auntie or an uncle or mother or father who's right next to you in your room or sitting next to them seeking advice. Because we overstood the reality that our ancestors are not dead. Yeah, they're not dead and gone somewhere far away from us. There is energy, and that energy is linked by way of your spiritual cord, your etheric cord. Your etheric cord is connected to them, just like how your mother and her umbilical cord was connected to you. That's the physical aspect. So when you were to cut that or sever it, that's when you became disconnected from your mother. But the etheric connection still remained. In child labor now, when my two children were born, they refer to that moment. There's a moment, they call it a golden hour. Maybe some mothers might know this who are listening. They call it a golden moment where the baby will be left with the mother on her bosom for like an hour. They call it a golden moment. What you're doing there, or what they don't realize was happening, is that you're creating a bond, okay, with your child. And it's called the golden moment, okay? And that bond is an etheric connection with your child. So the same thing, a father can do it too, but obviously he has to do it a different way because he can't obviously grow a baby in his womb. He doesn't womb or anything. So he has to do it a different way. And how you as a father can interact with your child from the very get-go, when the child is conceived, when that spark of life is connected with the egg and the ovum, you find out that your the child, the mother's child, child of your who's going to be born, you then will start to speak your tones, chant, play the sounds of music, speak to the mother's belly, all of these things, or stomach, because you're now creating a bond with that baby, and that baby's you're making a bond with you because its brain is the first thing that starts after the umbilical cord. One of the main things is the brain that starts to form. Do you see what I'm saying? And so it's constantly learning from that point on. So that's something you can do as a father to create that bond, and just keep on at it, etc. When they come out the womb, still play the tones, still chant to the baby. This is I'm just telling you as advice from what I have been doing with all my children. Do you get what I'm saying? Is doing that, is creating that bond, keeping them in that frequency, explain to them what these tones are, etc. Leaving it to them to play when they go to sleep. Right now, my children, they won't sleep without it. That's sometimes annoying, but I'm like, come on, man. But they actually want to hear the tones. And I kid you not, they will wake up if they don't hear it and they say, Mommy, Daddy, I can't hear the tones playing. Can you play the tones? Because I can't sleep. So that's how bad it is. That's how I've programmed into them. Just I'm saying that they know that this is their frequency. So it's stuff like that you have to do on a constant basis until it becomes a part of them. Yeah, we already been exposed to the devil's way, etc. Try not to get your children too influenced into that. Keeping them as much distracted away from that as possible. So yeah, those rituals are very, very important. The chanting, the meditating, the fasting, the 9-day fast that we do, the winter solstice fast, all of that is important as part of our rituals. Moving on. My question comes from Actual Facts number 15. On verse 14, it says, "You Negroids are pure and holy seed of heaven, and Ptah Nun, the earth, seas and inner earth." Okay? The originators. All other races come from you, the root of all races, the Negroids. Then, from what I've learned from the classes, it was taught that there were 3 main root races: Homo habilis, and Homo naledi, the Cro-Magnon, Homo forensis, and Neanderthal. If all races come from Negroids, and then the other part explains that the other races come from those root races, how do we harmonize this? When you say, okay, how do we harmonize this? That part has lost me. But essentially, every race comes from us purely because the root race, the DNA was extracted. Okay, so in essence, all races came from us because there is in order for a earthling to exist, you always have to go to, it's like a car, yeah. The analogy is like a car. You always go to the prototype. You with me? In order to build upon what the original prototype. So you have many variations of cars, yeah. But ultimately, the engine, you with me, the pistons, the spark plugs, and all the other components that make up the engine, most of the time is very similar prototype. Yeah. So you always build upon that, and then you have your various you got your Audi, you got this, etc. So if you look at that as how the extraterrestrials, what they did was the original prototype, the original beings, the Nubans, as I was reading from Intelligent Design, they were seeded here, and then there was various times when there was interceptions, and those interceptions, what extraterrestrials did was they then upgraded or they binded their essence. This is where you go into your biblical story, and it says, let us make man in our image and after our likeness. You see what I'm saying? So the original beings that were here were your Pataites, okay, or Ptah Nun, the earth. And these Pataites, they came from the waters originally. Okay, and the closeness to water, and the reason why water is because if you look at who we are, okay, aerodynamically, we're actually beings that's supposed to be aerodynamic, judging by our face. Our faces glide in water. You know, our eyebrows was actually to actually stop certain things coming into our eyes. So we're actually in an aerodynamic. Right now, we're standing like this in a dimension where it actually goes against your aerodynamic structure. But originally, we had the ability to grow wings. We were swimming in the waters and things, what is referred to as the mermaids and, you know, those stories. But we lived in the seas, and then we came out onto land, and then extraterrestrials at different points were abducting those sans people and using their DNA and upgrading them, etc. Yeah, even Greys were doing it, the Anunnaki were doing it, Pleiadians were doing it, just abducting, taking the essence, binding upon the matrix. But what they could never do was inherit the soul. Okay, the soul is the aspect which the Adamites had at one point because of who they were mixed in with, the Anunnaki. And from that point, and then they started to mix out, is when they end up losing their soul. So originally they did have soul, and soul is one of the things that many extraterrestrials are actually seeking, is to have that soul. Okay, so the harmony came from that. But let me jump to dimensional shift and make it a little bit more clearer for you. Right. So it goes in verse 173 of Dimensional Shift. The Nagaru, Negroids, African black man, and Dravadu, Indians, Asiatic black man, are the parents of Kakasu, Caucasoids, Europeans, pale man. Verse 174. They can't move up to any future, so they are trapped herein as the shift takes place and will slowly, that's the Mukasu, they will slowly fade out of existence. Deuteronomy chapter 7 verse 22. Little by little, after the year 2000 AD, 6000 Adam's calendar, to a spirit state. Verse 175. Yet will not be able to reach those who moved up from forth Nagaru, Negroids, 5th. Mangalu, Asians, 6th. Kakasu, Caucasians. All move up the dimensional shift of ether, except the evil, wicked Kakasu. Okay, so if you listen to that, it says that except the evil ones of them. Yeah, the Asians use physical disciplines, restrictions of the physical called Tai Chi, as Buddhists, etc. The Indians use physical disciplines, physical restrictions of their physical called yoga. The Caucasians don't do this. Their outlet is recreation, violence, games, parties, alcohol, and drugs. They have no restrictions on their physical. So it leads to invasions, wars, killings, and rapes. 7th, this is another shift. 7th, Mangalu, Asians. 8th, Dravadu, Indians. 9th, Nagaru, Africans. Verse 182. It is time to move higher and leave evil behind, or as they put it, left behind, to move to the 9th ether, and then onto the final dimension realm of deity, 7th, then 8th, then 9th. The Muntaru dwell on the 9th dimension, the perfected state of existence. So each shift is a gateway you must pass. You, only you, do things that can hinder you. Love, greed, anger, lust, poor health, metals in your body, tattoos of lead inks. That's why I explained to you about the brother asking about the tattoos. Things not natural to your matrix body, which can also be engrafted or fake fruits. Also foods like flesh or meats have much iron in the blood. You have to be cleaned inside out and outside in. You must correct your health. You can't pass through dimensions with your matrix body physically or emotionally holding extra baggage. And it gives you an explanation on the Philadelphia experiment, which is quite long read. So I'll skip that part and jump to right. It explains here about spirits. Says in verse 205, this is how spirits get trapped after death in this physical dimension because of love and desires. They are attached by their desires or lust, greeds, loves, angers, hates, and killings. In the movie Ghost, they depicted this very well, okay? So watch that movie again and then refer to what I've just read, and you see the very similarities of how they're trapped in this realm. So once they depart their physical body, their spirits are trapped. No one can help them. Thus, they become wicked ghosts, demons, even ghouls. You can get trapped as this shift takes place, as the Kakasu will be trapped if they have not mixed their genes. Yeah, so this is the part here about the harmonizing, etc. If they've not mixed their genes with the Mangalu, Dravadu, or Nagaru. So now is the time, 24,000 year or 26,000 year, for the third dimensional harmonic shift. When the wormhole is made between Earth and Marzak, risk Earth's ascension to a higher state or level. The prepared beings, and this answers your question about what was going to happen. I think there was being asked about the races and root races, and also about what will take place with us as Nagaru. So Earth to a higher state or level, the prepared beings can cross over the wormhole of time and space to 76 trillion miles of time. Yet you must know the ritual needed, the beings needed, the tone needed, with all the right persons at the right time and place, or all is in vain. Know this, what can trap you is you, and to what you attach yourself or being. Verse 214, ascension is the path of order, sarat of order, that consciousness evolves. Multi-dimensional energy mechanics of the mind into mind, from mental through a structural multi-dimensional system. representing universal order through which consciousness experiences beings. Yeah, so moving on to, right, verse 216. As for you, Pa Nagaru, Nagar Salal, the Negroid race, the first race seeding on the planet Earth of the three, Pa Nagaru, Pa Mangalu, Pa Kakasu, all from Pa Jazhar Salal, Nagaru, the root race Negroids, Nagaru, the original plan. So this is the original plan now. The original plan called for each race to breed sub-races. The Nagaru Negroids bred from themselves the Dravadu Indians. The Mangalu Mongoloids bred from themselves the Abaru Asian sub-races. The Kakasus, Caucasians, bred from themselves the Europeans. So the Kakasu, these are your Nordics. Yeah, the original Nordics, they bred the Europeans, which are your Celtics, etc. But this is what happened, right? So each were to evolve and in the end times assemble one divine DNA strand called Ha-1. Okay, so when you go and research this is in bold. One thing you notice, the master teacher, Partner Babyanun, when he puts in certain books, he'll put certain words with in bold. This one you'd have to look up or research it. That's something you need to start noticing when he does certain things. So Ha-1. Ha-1 stands for, it's an acronym. It stands for Human Accelerated Region. Okay, so on that chromosome, there's a region where humans' mental faculty and also genetic variances are accelerated. So there you find it in many species. That's why, like they tell you, there's a branch off from the human and the ape. Okay, there's a branch off from that. So then you have 7, 8, and 9 ether are divine DNA. 7, 8, and 9 ether are divine DNA. So I'm going to read it again. The Kakasu Caucasians bred from themselves the Europeans. Each were to evolve and in the end times assemble one divine DNA strand called Ha-1 strand. 7, 8, and 9 ether are divine DNA. We genetically manipulated humanoids in Africa DNA 54,000 years ago. We gave constructive speech, natok. It was implanted to raise humanoid intelligence. So speech is actually a form of intelligence, okay? The Kakasu did not learn to speak, talk, hadaf until 6,000 years ago. This is where you go when he talks about Adam was asked to name all the beings or all the animals. This is when they were testing his ability to speak. Okay, it was the implanting of human mental development that enabled humanoids to speak. Before then, only deities used words. Okay, so the angelic beings, extraterrestrials, who came much later, tested humans by saying in the beginning was the Dabar speech and became Logos word. Okay, jumping to jumping to verse 2 to 8. Their etheric root race, the Nagaru, so the etheric root race, the Nagaru Negroes are unique. The only ones who remain human still have Waba hair or their crown, not Farah fur, while others mixed out or were crossbred with canine to become Homo canine, also with simian to become Homo simian, and also with porcine to become Homo porcine. Then they mix sexually to become what you see all over Europe and America, even South America, and spread in the Caribbeans. And in exchange for Waba hair grew fur, Farah, like the beast, with whom their DNA were mixed. So the divine was imprinted. Yeah, remember talking about the divine DNA was 7, 8, and 9 ether? This was imprinted on the helix strands 7, 8, and 9. It stopped for Kakasu at 6. So on Earth, The physical race of Negroids, Africans, hold the divine gene. The other two, their etheric counterparts, can be raised. So that's the 7 and 8, okay, can be raised. The Afaf Re Ka'a African body, being the root race of this planet, which is 24,000 miles in circumference, is linked to the cycles of 24,000 years, which is also linked to the 24,000 genomes of our makeup. Yeah, the human genome is made up of approximately, they say, 23 to 24,000. So our one is 24,000 as Nagaru. The original Africans were souls. Yeah, so, you know, the concept of what soul is, that's what we are. We are soul beings, Etherians. The human body grew later as original immortals. You Negroids were designed to transmute and ascend, not to die and reincarnate. Originally, there were 24 cycles of transmutation, which later became 24 reincarnation cycles of death and rebirth. And the master explained in further books that you have between 24 to 24,000 cycles for you to perfect yourself. So, you know, you constantly keep coming back here until you learn what you're supposed to learn. Find out what your purpose is. And your purpose is to perfect your being. That's what your purpose is. So as the consciousness passed from one life to the next, so as you know, die and you come back, your consciousness is passed on from one life to the next. The DNA would assemble, so the soul Ba'a could learn its way on its etheric chord of evolution. But, verse 243, now with so much sickness, disease, and race mixing, the DNA strands are weakened, and many etheric cords, or sarat'at, have become like a straw that has collapsed or closed. Now, how do you raise and get this straw, this etheric cord, to be raised again and become able to receive information and knowledge and connect with your etheric being? Chanting, meditating, fasting, speaking your tones. That's how you're going to get this straw, which is collapsed, to start becoming stronger and more rigid, as an example. Yeah? Many are cut off as the kakasu at 6 ether. So your etheric potency has lessened so much, you're now living in the image and likeness of a beast man. So now it's known you have 24,000 chromosomes on your DNA, 24 hours in the day, the final day and the third hour of night. The master plan to transport and rescue the root race with Ba'a'u souls formulated by Pa Natharu, involved in 9 higher morphogenetic spheres, Ku'u, oversouls. Okay, I'll leave it there because it goes into a whole thing about oversouls and stuff. But I hope you get the gist. I hope that makes sense. And so I can jump to the next question because there's quite a few for here. So I hope that answered about the root races and the harmony and that, yeah. So I hope it's been corrected and you gain more clarity. Thank you for that analogy. It's very helpful. Can you also speak to what is being done with the updated words as well? In what respect? The updated words, Partner Bab has always explained that we're moving in transition. He's surgically, okay, calibrating us. That's why these words sometimes are tweaked, because it's all about the enunciation and the tones that is and the frequencies. Okay, but this is in the form of updates. He's explained it. I don't know if you got the Language of Time book, but also if when you read that, it talks about a particular gene called the FOXP2 gene. Go and study the FOXP2 gene. Okay, that also gives you the reason why the master teacher does what he does and why the language is being slowly being updated or upgraded. Okay, because we're moving into the realm of tones, vibration, and frequencies, what our ancestors truly speak. You know, there's now been an update as well where he's explained about listening to the great whale, Tautak. Yeah, the great whale is obviously a sea animal or a mammalian, but it's linked to the Sirius star system. So he's explained that find the great whale and the sound that it makes. I think it's the blue whale, if I'm right, and the tones that it makes, because what they do is they actually record these animals and their tones, and it's on such a ultra low frequency that what they do is they speed up the frequency in order for you to even hear it. But once you hear it, you hear what it actually sounds like, and you can get a monitor to see what tone is actually on. Most of the time you find it's either on the F or the C, yeah? And this allows you to know, and he says that try and vocalize and do those same sounds, because what it's doing is linking you back into the planet Earth, is linking you to natural nature, and it's also linking you to the Orion and Sirius star system. So these are things, again, that he's given us as updates in order for us to perfect our being, okay? So yes, the words are being done, but it'd be another class, or I don't know if you're in the language forum, Pata Amunreye, but if you are, try and get on there. They're doing a really excellent job with what they're doing. Don't knock them, because the master has a formula. You just have to learn to trust what the formula is. How come?
Sure, that's what I was speaking about.
Okay, okay. Tua, all right. I shook Zama.
Oh,
Yeah, you have a question?
well, I put several questions in there.
Oh, okay. I'll try and get to them because I know I'm now mindful of time. How come
Okay,
Dr.
go ahead.
York? That's okay. Thank Zama. How come Dr. York hasn't been released from prison yet? Our just simple question answer is up to us. We have to do what he's asked us to do. Come together in love and unity and work from the inside out. What you have to realize is this, I'm going to probably stand on my soapbox now, but a cell in the body cannot function alone by itself. There's a saying in the affirmation, Patakud, I'm never alone, all is I am. I fail as an individual. Yeah, I fail as an individual. Every cell in your body does not work independently. All cells in the body work synergistically with each other to keep the harmony. If you can comprehend that, okay, then you'll understand why we have to come as one being, because that's how cells work. We are one being. A cell doesn't say, oh, I'm by myself, I'm going to start making my own hormones, I'm going to create my own DNA, etc. Cells work together. You with me? And if one is unbalanced, that's when proliferation of cancer takes place. And you know what cancer is? Yeah? So you just work at, just really simplify what's being taught and look at yourself. You see, so that's why the masters put, there's a saying in the oracle in Delphi in Greece. It says, man, know thyself. You have to start knowing yourself, start knowing who you truly are, from the microcosm to the macrocosm. Yeah? Knowing that it has a correlation. As above, so below. All of these teachings, the master teacher has been explained to us. So yes, to answer your question, love and unity is what will be, when we come and show that our force, our power is in our force and our unity. Every race knows this. Every race. Go and study the psychological things about how to manipulate a race. Then you'll understand. Okay, so I hope that answers your question, Francois Sims. Pata Amunre, can you address the 12 occult nerves? Yes, Zamalta. You have a question?
Yes, so that's a quick one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Why when like different beings like enter your body, they would like tear you down like that, and some don't?
Okay, it all depends on vibrational frequencies and the type of mood, mentality, and feelings you have at the time. You with me? Because as the masters explained, you have disembodied
Yes, I'm
spirits.
with you.
Yeah, so you have disembodied spirits, but they also have different frequency ranges. So these different frequency ranges all what depends on your mood and your vibration. So you know, like you have like different waves, you have alpha wave, gamma waves, etc. You know, when a cat, for instance, starts to purr, and then that's an alpha wave, and it starts to purr, and then you feel calm and relaxed. These are that frequency. You can actually blend into that with a cat, and you feel relaxed and calm. They're beings that work on different vibrational frequency depending on what level they are at, and they can affect you. Just what I'm saying, either positively or negatively. You know, the main thing is to have a psychic self-defense against them. You know, and again, I can't stress the language enough. Master the language, learn the language. I'm not saying I'm standing here and I know the language inside out, but what I try to do on a daily basis is I try to speak it. I make the attempt to speak it. I've made a conscious decision and understand the principle and science of why we should speak our own language. And in that, I'm learning the language and speaking it and looking at the words, etc., and learning how it's written and all of these things, because I now know it's protecting me. So, you know, on that, that's what you should do, so that these elementals or these embodied extraterrestrials who are constantly vibrating around us and just waiting for an opportunity to, okay, I've got a question. Asia Bennett, I know I haven't really paid too much attention on people on Clubhouse. Sorry, I do apologize. It's been a lot to go through, but I've got 3 minutes. I hope that answers your questions, Amalta. I've got a question on. Okay, let's get to Clubhouse, because it looks like I've been ignoring you like on Clubhouse. I do apologize. I'm going to invite you to speak, Asia Bennett. Go ahead. Greetings, Amalta. Asia Bennett. Can you unmute?
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Rahubat.
Hi, Rahubat. I wanted to know about tattoos. Do that affect our etheric bodies?
Funny enough, I just read that in Dimensional Shift. Do you have the part of that called Dimensional Shift?
No, I don't.
Okay, let me just quickly read it for you. So, it says, the Montaru, our ancestors Nantaru, dwell on the 9th dimension, the perfected state of existence. Each shift that we go through dimension is a gateway you must pass. Only you do things that can hinder you. Love, greed, anger, lust, poor health, metals in your body, tattoos of lead inks. So I don't know whether you've had anybody that you know that has used tattoo that has lead ink in it. But because it's a metal, okay, that's what's it's altering your matrix. You with me? And it's adding extra weight to your matrix. Because what you're going to be going through, you're going to be going through a shift where you're going to be recalibrated on the other end once you've been transfigured or transformed from the inside outwards. So any shift in weight can affect you when you're going through. You know, in the movie The Fly, don't know how old you are or your age, but there's a movie called The Fly. And in The Fly, you find this character was trying to transfer one animal and the state of, what's it called? That's all I'm looking for. When you move from one to another. For in the name. Basically, yeah, teleportation. Thank you very much, Ashok. Yeah, so that teleportation is what he was trying to do. But because he hadn't calibrated, or he had too much, the computer hasn't been calibrated properly, or the matrix of that creature hadn't been calibrated properly, he went in there, got fused with the thing and became a fly. Obviously a horror movie, but the teleportation aspect is what I'm trying to explain here. So you're going to be teleported or transmuted into a different realm, and that realm has to have a particular vibration. So if your matrix is unbalanced, that's what could happen to you. As he explained in Man from Planet Risk, what happened to the sailors on the ship when they had love or they had emotional attachment. Some of them got fused because of their zero time reference. Okay, so yes, my sister, it can affect your matrix. To put it in a nutshell.
So can we remove them or just cleanse our blood from like the mercury, like to just help a little bit better? Because I have them, and I just came into this knowledge a year ago.
And you're like,
and
damn.
I
I hear you, Samantha. What the master explained is that those who are sincere and are worthy, okay, the Panataru have ways of removing certain things from you. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's a matter of just you raising your vibration and learning to turn yourself inside out through the many rituals and practices that I mentioned earlier. Okay, so, our ancestors don't judge like that. It's not like this religious thing where they're judging you because of what you've done. Now you're into Wu-Sabat, it's like a clean slate has started. You're relearning as a baby. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And I have another question. You said something about love, and I wanted you to define it because I was trying to get an example of when you said the desires that hold us here.
Right.
Can you give an example of what that love would be that will hold us here?
Okay, it's more to do with physical love of material things, that kind of stuff. Because everything that you...
What about a person?
Yep, physical love. We have 3 types of love in our culture. You have ashuk, you have contact love, which is called habub, and you have another one, I always forget the third one. But those loves, ashuk is the number 1 priority. Ashuk deals with unconditional, okay? And when you look at the works of Partner Bab Yanun, the master teacher, he has forever given ashuk. Yeah, and when you look at this, can go into another class. It's called Akasha Records, where he explains about Ashuk and Kasha, because those are things that happen in this realm that affect us and keep us bound. Just what I'm saying, because of the physical love and physical contact that we have, which leads to desires. Because then, if somebody doesn't do something for you, you no longer love them. So really, was it love? Do you understand? It's more about conditions. You understand? So yeah. But a female has unconditional love. Why? Because she'll carry it for 9 months. Do you know what I mean? And most females have unconditional love because of the fact that they carry life. Does that make sense?
Yes, I understand.
Okay. But yeah, it's a whole build on that. So we can leave it for another class. Unconscious is 9:33. I apologize again. I think somebody else wanted to speak. Was it important, Sakamtat?
Yeah, just a quick question.
Yeah.
You mentioned cleaning heavy metals out of your system or your blood. I'm in the process of taking a lot of herbs what has iron in it.
Okay.
Because it said that it helps that, just build up your energy level, your strength. So am I doing the wrong thing?
If you're talking about iron in the sense of liquid iron, and then you have metal, you have metal iron. Yeah, those are, but again, I have to explore that. I have to do more research on that. But as far as I know, it's just the too much iron in your blood, okay, causes the oxidation to take place. Just what I'm saying, with the oxygen and the metals. But metals in the sense of, I have to definitely research that. Next class, if you remember, mark it down. I have to research that and have a proper breakdown, build for it. Okay? All right, okay. All right, Antatatira for Zamata. Right, Mushiar, it's that time. Again, class starts off, and then before you know it, you spin around, and then you're answering lots of questions, and love and unity is the key. Tawakum, Mushiar, Lahe Yatwe, Panin Pa Kayat. Thank you for coming for this class this evening, Garut. Nefir Garut, I would wish you all wonderful peace and love. Okay. The brother Haptuire Atum has mentioned about activated charcoal, okay, which draws out impurities. Okay, Tawata Zaman for that. Okay, Wadu to Moisha, to everybody, as I said, focus on him being free, and he will be free. That's the power we have. This is what they try to remove from us, our mental faculties, our power to visualize, okay, freedom and unity for all of us. Because with freedom and unity comes prosperity. That's what we all have to realize. We can prosper. Go and read, do a chat GTP on the African race and how they prosper, and you'll see what the answer it gives you. Okay. Wish everybody Ashok, divine love. Wadu Moisar on Clubhouse Zoom. Wadu. See you next week. Okay, for another wonderful class by one of our teachers. And have a great weekend. All right, well, don't forget those who want to participate in our sponsored walk for the freedom of Partner Babyanun going towards a legal fight. Okay, we have our sponsored walk on the 20th of July. Those who can attend, obviously, in physical form in the UK, obviously. If you're around the world and you're partaking in other parts of the jurisdiction, obviously, go down there and support. Or obviously, there's also the support financially on the link. If you click on the link, and you can do whatever you can. No money's too great or too small, okay? So it's all for that push towards his legal and for him to be free with us and amongst us. We can get those jewels.